In a mortal's journey to immortality, the title, Han Lao Mo, Old Devil Han, isn't something given lightly. In the chaotic and lawless lands of the Chaos Star Sea, where demonic cultivators thrive and morality is just a word, Han Li carved out a name that even devils respected. Within this sea of blood and betrayal, there exist three supreme demonic techniques: the Tuo Tian Magic Art, the Lu Ji True Demon Skill, and the Xuanyin Great Art. Yet out of all who walked this perilous path, only Han Li managed to cultivate two of them, the Tuo Tian and the Xuanyin, and with them, he built an unshakable foundation amid the stormy chaos of that world. But Han Li's demonic nature was never about killing innocents or indulging in cruelty. His magic was the art of survival, pure, pragmatic, and without hypocrisy. To him, the path of cultivation was never about choosing between good and evil. It was about staying alive, walking one's own path, and protecting what mattered, no matter what name the world gave you. His first step into this so-called demonic way began with the Xuanyin Dafa, one of the three great magic skills of the Chaos Star Sea, infamous for its sinister nature. This art was filled with deadly and forbidden methods: blood sacrifice, energy absorption, and the terrifying Black Shura technique, all of which came with a dreadful risk, the backlash of one's inner demons. Even its former inheritor, the Yin Patriarch, eventually lost his sanity to it. When Han Li first arrived in the Chaos Star Sea, his cultivation was weak, and he was surrounded by chaos. To survive, he stumbled upon a fragment of the Xuanyin Dafa in some long-forgotten ruins. Though his main practice was the Taoist Qingyuan sword technique, Han Li never cared about the division between righteousness and evil. What mattered to him was results. And so, he began practicing the Xuanyin method, but with control, precision, and restraint. Through the blood spirit diamond technique, he condensed his true essence dozens of times over, turning it into a deadly hidden trump card. In the duel against Chen Xiaoqian, the traitor of Yellow Maple Valley, Han Li unleashed this power and ended the fight in one decisive strike. When death loomed close, he even used the dangerous Zaiyu Suidan technique, sacrificing his own cultivation to refine a life-saving pill. And though the Xuanyin method required blood sacrifices, Han Li only ever used it to absorb energy from slain enemies. Never once did he harm an innocent cultivator for blood. This blend of power and restraint, of demonic art and rational control, perfectly embodies what makes Han Li so terrifying. The Xuanyin Dafa became the key that kept him alive during his early years in the Chaos Star Sea, and later, it served as a stepping stone for greater achievements, refining the 5-element blood coagulation pill, and even cultivating an external incarnation. If Xuanyin Dafa was the weapon Han Li used to break deadlocks, then the Tuo Tian Magic Art was how he seized control of his own destiny. The Tuo Tian Magic Art is known as the ultimate defensive technique in the entire Chaos Star Sea. Those who master it have bodies covered in golden scales, able to withstand even full-force attacks from cultivators of equal rank. The mid-stage nascent soul expert Man Huzi, who once trained this art to perfection, earned the nickname, the #1 sandbag below the spirit transformation stage, because even the 6 Path Saints couldn't break his defense. When Han Li met Man Huzi in the Shuqian Palace secret realm and witnessed that indestructible body, his desire to learn it was immediate. Later, through a dangerous pact, helping Man Huzi avenge the Yin Patriarch, Han Li obtained the complete inheritance of this art. But mastering the Tuo Tian technique wasn't easy. It demanded one to temper their body with demonic energy, to endure agony as if one's bones and marrow were being stripped away. It also required consuming the blood of powerful beasts, a brutal, nearly unbearable process. Yet, with the patience and perseverance that only a false spiritual root cultivator could possess, Han Li spent over 100 years refining it to perfection. By then, his physical strength had reached terrifying levels, enough that even in the nascent soul stage, he could resist attacks that would shatter the golden cores of ordinary cultivators. Against demonic curses and forbidden spells, he stood unmoved. Later, when he combined the Tuo Tian Magic Art with the Buddhist Ming Wang art, something extraordinary happened. One strengthened his body, the other purified his soul. Together, they fused into the Brahma True Demonic Art, a technique that broke all boundaries between righteousness and evil. It embodied Han Li's ultimate philosophy: the only truth in cultivation is strength itself. His mastery of these two great demonic arts might seem unorthodox, but in truth, they perfectly suited the brutal logic of the Chaos Star Sea, a realm where there is no justice, only survival. Here, demonic sects and rogue cultivators fought endlessly, and only the strong lived to tell the tale. That's why these 3 demonic arts became the pinnacle inheritances of this land. The 6 extremes true demonic art summoned the holy mind for overwhelming strength. The Tuo Tian art protected one's life with unmatched defense. And the Xuanyin Dafa turned cunning and deceit into weapons deadlier than swords. Had Han Li clung to the idea that righteousness must never be tainted, he would have perished long ago, just another nameless corpse beneath the waves of the Chaos Star Sea. His path, in truth, was both a compromise and a rebellion against this cruel world. Since good and evil are illusions, why not use the power of demons to protect one's righteous heart? But even while walking the devil's path, Han Li always drew clear boundaries. He practiced demonic techniques, but never joined any demonic sect. He acted alone, a free cultivator who answered only to himself. He used sinister techniques, but never harmed innocents or fellow righteous cultivators. He absorbed demonic energy, yet his heart remained calm and uncorrupted. His foundation always stayed rooted in the Taoist Qingyuan sword technique. This, using the power of demons without falling into the devil's way, is what makes Han Li truly unique. He's the living contradiction that defies the very concept of good and evil. As Han Li himself once said, "There is no right or wrong in the way of cultivation. Good and evil lie only in the hearts of people." And that, more than his strength or skill, is what defines Han Lao Mo. In the human world chapter of a mortal's journey to immortality, Han Li, now a powerful nascent soul cultivator, finally returned home for the second time. By then, the Han family had already become a prestigious clan in their region, basking in the glory of their legendary ancestor. As a gesture of protection, Han Li left behind a treasure that would become the family's greatest inheritance, a gold Devouring Spirit Sword, forged from his own 3-colored gold devouring beetles. This sword wasn't just a weapon, it was a divine guardian. When unsheathed, it unleashed a storm of golden light so powerful that everything within 10 miles of the ancestral hall would be annihilated. For the mortals of the Han family, it was the ultimate safeguard, a promise that their bloodline would never be easily extinguished. But when Han Li returned again 3,000 years later, as a Mahayana stage immortal, what greeted him was not prosperity, but silence. The Han family ancestral hall lay in ruins. The once mighty spirit sword had long shattered, and the family that bore his name had vanished into history. This wasn't the failure of the spirit sword. It was the inevitable consequence of the cruel laws that govern both mortals and immortals, the decay written into the world's very structure. It was also the result of Han Li's own deliberate restraint, and the Han family's mortal limitations. Because the truth is, the gold Devouring Spirit Sword was never meant to ensure everlasting prosperity. It was only a stopgap, a tool for emergency survival, not eternal protection. Han Li, even at that time, understood that perfectly. From the start, this sword had 3 unbreakable limitations. First, it could only be used 3 times. Each activation would weaken its spirit until, after the 3rd use, the sword reverted to its original form, the 3 gold devouring beetles, and disappeared forever. Second, its power was bound to the Han family's ancestral hall. The moment it left that place, the spirit enchantments would collapse. It couldn't be used for war, expansion, or any external defense, only as a final sanctuary. Third, the sword could only be activated through a jade pendant passed down to each family head. Once triggered, it slaughtered all living beings within 10 miles, friend and foe alike. A desperate measure that could invite revenge or fear from surrounding forces. In truth, the spirit sword was a one-time refuge, a divine shield to help the Han family survive disaster, not maintain dominance. But as the centuries passed and the sword's 3 uses were spent, the family was left defenseless, and their decline became inevitable. The deeper problem wasn't the sword's limits. It was the Han family itself. Their bloodline lacked what the cultivation world calls a spiritual root, the innate talent to sense and control spiritual energy. Without that, they could never produce another cultivator. In the world of immortals, strength determines existence. Without power, even the grandest clan is nothing more than dust on the wind. When Han Li returned home during his nascent soul years, the family had hundreds of members. But all of them were mortals. Their wealth came from the silver Han Li sent in his early days, and their reputation from younger generations passing the imperial exams to serve as officials. For mortals, that was glory, but in the eyes of cultivators, it was fragile. No amount of gold or scholarly prestige can stand against cultivator wars, demonic beasts, or shifting dynasties. Once the 3 protections of the spirit sword were gone, the Han family had no spiritual guardian left. When chaos returned, warlords rising, sects clashing, empires collapsing, the Han family simply couldn't survive. And there was a deeper irony. Even with the spirit sword in their possession, generations of Han descendants didn't understand what it truly was. They couldn't grasp the logic behind it, nor predict the threats of the cultivation world. To them, it was a relic of faith, not a tool of survival. And so, they could only wait, helpless, as fate closed in. Yet Han Li's decision to leave only limited protection wasn't out of cruelty. It was intentional. He understood better than anyone the danger of holding a treasure while lacking the strength to protect it. To a mortal family, a weapon like the spirit sword was as much a curse as it was a blessing. Han Li once said, "There is no eternal wealth in this world." That's why he built limitations into the spirit sword. To prevent his descendants from relying on power they didn't earn. To stop the weak from using it for greed or tyranny. And above all, to keep the family safe from the covetous eyes of cultivators who might slaughter them for their ancestors' gift. It's a sharp contrast to characters like Yu from Stellar Transformations, who left behind countless treasures and puppets for his mortal family. Han Li's approach was far more restrained: 3 chances at survival, no cultivation manuals, no immortal resources, and no ties to any sex. Behind that restraint lies a profound understanding, a separation between the mortal path and the immortal one. Han Li wanted to repay the emotional debt he owed his family, but he also knew that the path to immortality must be walked alone. Mortal clans could never survive by clinging to the charity of immortals. So when Han Li ascended to the spirit realm, the Han family's fate was sealed. Without his shadow to protect them, they were swallowed by the inevitable tides of time. Wars, dynastic collapse, and the chaos of the mortal world eroded everything they built. Perhaps the spirit sword saved them from 3 disasters: rebellions, invasions, or raids by low-level cultivators, but nothing can defy the grand cycle of rise and fall. When the dynasty that protected them fell, the Han family fell with it. In the end, their downfall wasn't tragedy, it was truth. In the mortal realm, every era devours the one before it. No blade, no spell, no treasure can resist the tide of change. Even for the immortal Han Li, that truth remained unshakable. You can defy heaven, you can transcend mortality, but you cannot save the world from time itself.